Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Moira is back once again in Overwatch 2 with a vengeance, and here we are to focus heavily on what she's capable of and why you should play her in Overwatch 2 if you're new to the game. All that being said, if you're enjoying the content on the channel and you want to see more guides and information on Overwatch 2, please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. And that being said, let us jump into the character overview, which is part 1. Alright, so here we are with Moira, a very versatile character, though of course with her own genuine flaws, but we'll get into that very soon. But most importantly, let's talk about what makes Moira a very fantastic character in Overwatch 2. For one, she is very notorious for doing a lot of damage, and her healing is surprisingly very high as well, so she's very multifaceted. And so the most important thing to be mindful of with regards to Moira is the cooldown with regards to her weapons. So you can see that on screen you have a little meter which resembles that of Diva and also of Orisa, but you can see that with your Biotic Grasp, which is the name of this attack, you can see that the bar gauge raises very, very slowly. Now, of course, you can raise it back very quickly by attacking enemies, which is great. So it's very, very important. It's very important as a Moira character or Moira main to be very cognizant, very, very mindful of what you're doing in every single game. Otherwise, you'll run the risk of healing your teammates, for example, but then you're not mindful of, raising your meter back. So it really comes down to a lot of resource management, a lot of micromanagement with regards to Moira. She's not a character that I feel you can master right away. She will take some time to get used to, just because of the fact that, again, she requires you to be not only healing your units, but she also requires that you take damage or deal damage to gain your meter back. So you have to be very, very, very mindful of that. Now, of course, this also allows you to regain health, as you can see there. So as you're taking damage, you can also regain your health by just sapping the life of enemies, which can also be a great benefit. So keep that in mind as well. Biotic Grasp is arguably her best tool in her kit, as it's where she gets most of her utility from. So really keep that in mind as to how you utilize her on the battlefield. Next up is her E, which is her Biotic Orb. And you can choose between either going for the healing orb or going for the damage orb. Once again, this all comes down to what's happening around you, which means that you as a Moira player need to be very mindful and self-aware as to what's happening around you. So let's say, for example, you have a teammate at the high ground, you might want to throw up your orb up there to try and heal them, while you have enemies in front of you that you can use your right click on to deal damage and make sure that your tank, let's say, is healed or healthy. So again, it's really all about multitasking, but in a very efficient manner. As long as you're super focused with her, you should be doing fine. So of course, as I said, with her E, you can choose between healing or damage. Right click being damage, and so that can do a lot. You can see that it bounces off of walls, which is really cool. This allows for Moira to basically be like a strong zoner. Like, she can really zone enemies out, creating a lot of space for the team and preventing the enemy from, let's say, entering narrow choke points, which is where she shines the most. So let's say, for example, this is a choke point right here. Throwing your E right here in this area would be great, because now you can zone enemies out and do damage at the same time. So it really, really does help to make a good use of Moira's E at optimal times, most notably, again, in choke points or maps where choke points are very narrow. So there are a lot of great examples for this. I'd say, for example, areas where, or maps rather, where Moira can shine would be on places like escort maps. So Circuit Royale would be a good example. Dorado would be a good example. Junkertown would be a good example. And the reasons for that is because Moira's kit, just as a zoning type of healer / damage unit, she really wants enemies to be nearby at somewhat of a mid-range, because that's really where her attacks do shine. She's more of a mid-range damage dealer, so using her E to zone enemies out and therefore do damage, but also heal your teammates over time is of great importance to memorize and keep track of as you play the game. And then next up, we have what's arguably her best tool as well, and that is her Q, which is of course called Coalescence. And when you pop your Q, this, you can just walk around and you can just aim it. And what this does is it not only does damage, but it also heals your characters as well, or heals your teammates. So your Q is very, very, very useful. It's an excellent way to close the gap, or rather, let's say, keep enemies off of you. So when you pop your Q, you can use it as a way to really threaten the enemy, once again pushing them back and preventing them from closing the gap on their objective, and giving you a chance to not only do damage but also heal at the same time, which is fantastic. And one thing I want to also mention too is her Fade ability. So Fade is very similar to that of Reaper in that she can use this ability to teleport, and she's invulnerable during this time period. But the difference between her and Reaper is that she can actually jump, and you can super jump if you want it, if you time it correctly, and that way she can travel a lot further. Now, one thing to be mindful of though is that it does have quite a long cooldown. It's at, about 6 seconds, so you don't want to be using it at the wrong time. But it's definitely a very important tool for her, as it really allows for her to be very mobile and allows her to play her zoning game really well. So it's important to be, again, very cognizant of where you are on the map in relation to the enemy, but also your teammates. So therefore you can heal your teammates up like so, and make sure that everyone is safe and sound, while you as well can reposition and basically allow for easier map control. So that being said, overall, I'd say that Moira is an excellent character to pick up and play. I'd say to master her will take quite a bit of time, as I mentioned before, as it does require that you really come to understand and better utilize her kit to the best of your abilities. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to the player and how much investment you want to put into her, and if you like her that much. Personally, I love characters like this because she really plays like a mage kind of unit, where she's utilizing, 2 abilities. She's doing damage, but she's also healing, which can be very effective. Now, of course, as I mentioned, she has her flaws, and her flaws being that while she does have a lot of utility, she's got quite a bit of damage dealing utility, healing utility. She's very multifaceted. However, like I said, her cooldowns are a little bit on the slow end. And so if you're not careful with your cooldowns, and you're just, spamming your E, for example, without really thinking about why you're using your Q, be mindful that it is about a 7 to 8 second cooldown, and that can be very, very, very important, because that can really determine the difference between whether you survive or your team survives with regards to healing or to doing damage as a whole. So being mindful of positioning, being mindful of just your overall map awareness is really, really critical with regards to Moira, and really mastering her kit as a whole. So all that being said, let us go into some gameplay, and we can showcase the character in more detail, and hopefully you'll enjoy that from there. Once again, if you do enjoy this quick little breakdown of Moira, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you folks on the next video. Take care and have a great one. Peace. 拙者は常に赤軍に縛られてきた。何じゃ、無から何かを生み出す方法は必ずよろしく頼む。5、4、3、2、1。目標のアンロックまであと30秒。
返してやろう。コアレッセンス解放可能。
総攻撃に出るぞ。敵が前進している。阻止しろ。
ロボットを掌握した。
回復してくれ。
細胞から元通りだ。
アルティメットチャージ中。
キツの軍
敵
団だ。
は共に来い。追いつくぞ。
まさに寒天の自由。細胞から元通りだ。キツの軍団だ。チャージ力を力を放て。
バリアを展開。
ロボットを渡すわけにはいかない。ブルシーをロボットを掌握した。私はこれだけではない。
もう少しでリードはこっちのもんだ。当選用意。 優勢だ。
かけろ。
俺が一流だ。
直してさ。
前方リスポーンエリア開放。
無限だ。今度は何だ。
回復する。相当撃に出るぞ。イモータリティフィールド展開。
こちらに集合だ。
ロボットを奪われた。
枯れ果てろ。ひどい助けてくれ。逃げられると思うな。
勝負ありだな。勝負ありだな。ロボットを奪われたぞ。ロボットを護衛中。
負傷か。治療しよう。
そうだ。